What's up, everybody? Jordan here with the What's Really Brewing podcast because I'm a huge fan of coffee, and that's just what we're going to call it, right? And we want to know what's going on behind the entrepreneur journey and what's going on in people's businesses and how people run them, how they go through their journey as an entrepreneur. And I want people to tell their story and understand that like it's hard, it feels lonely, but there is a community of folks that are like-minded, want to grow, understand the process and the journey behind it. So no better than I consider him really a colleague in the online space, and connect more as almost kind of like a friend in a way because he's one of these people I know that we don't get to talk a lot. But Joe Hughes, owner of Contractor Dynamics, I appreciate you hopping on, man.
Yeah, Jordan, awesome to be here. Great to reconnect. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And yeah, I love your content, love your strategy, your mindset, your philosophies. And you're right. We got so much going on. It's hard to always connect. You're in Alabama, I'm in New Jersey. So good to be here on the StreamYard.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Yeah, so let's get right into the story of Joe because I think people need to hear it. Even your own clients probably don't even know like who Joseph Hughes is. So I think that's important for everybody to know who the person is behind the business. I tell my clients all the time they need to do it. So that's what we're here. So tell me, like, so before Contractor Dynamics existed, talk to me about like life, business, what happened before all that got started.
Yeah, and if it's cool with you, I might actually take this and use this in our hiring process because when I interview people, which is usually the last interview, they have these questions like, "Why roofing? Like, how'd you get into this?" Well, like so, and I tell the story. I should probably just send this video to them in advance and then answer any questions. But I grew up in my family's construction business here in New Jersey and up in New York City. So maritime construction. So we're talking barges, tugboats, shipyard. My first job was in a shipyard in Brooklyn, New York when I was 14. I was scraping barnacles off the bottom of tugboats. I was painting tugboats and barges. I learned to cut steel with an acetylene torch and weld and drive the forklift and do all the, 14-year-old boy, you're playing with all the toys except for the crane for obvious reasons. That's, in everyone's best interest. But yeah, so that was my family biz. Grew up in that business, Hughes Marine Firms, which is 130 something years old right now. So they're going strong, construction and real estate. I was a 6th generation family member in that business and learned a lot. Got to work with my dad, my 2 uncles, my cousins, a whole bunch of other people in the actual shipyard out in the yard, working alongside people from literally all over the world. And, you're talking South America, Caribbean, Philippines, you name it. So that was really cool to get to learn, different people's perspectives and their worldviews and just so much about life and people in general. And then business skills, I ended up graduating into working in the office in New Jersey for about 9 years after college. Learned a lot about small business, did, every aspect from sales to banking to insurance to HR to hiring and things like that. Really got a well-rounded education there. And I left the family biz in 2012, not because I couldn't get along with anyone. We all got along well, still do. I'm actually having lunch with my cousin next week. I just kind of had that entrepreneurial itch to go out and start something on my own. Working for a family business that's over 100 years old, it's they are definitely innovating a lot, but I had the desire to go out there and see what I could do on my own. So leverage the construction background kind of in my blood, had a passion for business, consulting, marketing, and combined those things. And Contractor Dynamics was born in 2013.
Wow, that's awesome. So what, like, with all the experience you gained in there, so you're talking about like you actually did the work, right? You did the construction part, which obviously gives you validation of there. Me, I don't swing a hammer. My dad could build a house for you right now.
Cool.
I put on a garage door opener the other day and I felt accomplished.
Good work.
Look at this, man. I did that. But so obviously getting your hands dirty, being a big part of his business, like what did each season teach you that you're actually applying to your own business now, whether it's financing, HR, like how did you bring that into your current business?
Well, there's so many levels to this. So I have a business degree from a pretty good university and you learn some things there. Right. And then going into work with a family biz, you're like, oh, I didn't learn anything in college in those textbooks because I'm actually doing it. Right. as a team member of a very large organization. And when I started my own business, I'm like, oh, now I'm really learning because I'm 100% owner and this is on me. Like there's no, I got to figure this out. So there's so many levels of learning. I would say really going back to that shipyard experience, I didn't realize it until later in life, but the empathy of understanding that people come from different backgrounds, people have different worldviews, people have different perspectives, gratitude for the opportunities that I have. That's a big one. Doing the right thing. I mean, I don't believe that my family business has core values, documented, but they certainly, maybe they do by now. I don't know. I haven't been around in a while, but they certainly live them and they're obvious. And it's, always do the right thing, even if it costs you money. Your reputation is everything. Some of these things that are baked into my worldview right now came from that. So really big on, treating people right, doing the right thing, always ownership of everything, your reputation, your brand, treating people well. Those foundational things are really carry through my life and our business today for sure.
That's awesome. So when you started like Contractors Dynamics, like what was is it because you saw a big missing gap that contractors needed as far as like marketing your business? And was it just like, did you fall into that? Somebody said, I need help. Cause I know like I don't say I fell into the marketing space because my background was a band director and that's a story in of itself. But, but people were like, how in the world did you get here? I said, it's a story. But like, people needed a website for a moment. People needed this, and I kind of fell into it in a way. Did you fall into it? Or did you like, hey, these people need the help with this, and I just jumped right in?
I would say a little bit of each. So I can blame Tim Ferriss, 4 Hour Work Week. That came out in 2007, I believe. And it took me a few years to read that a few times and be like, all right, I can do this. So that I definitely blamed him in a good way. And then from there, I got reading a lot, a lot of bloggers back in the day and a lot of books and marketing and social media. The internet was obviously the internet had been around. I'm not that old, but social media, YouTube started getting big. So I was like, man, like I could really, you could, and even today in 2026, like you could do some basic things for a contracting company that can really move the needle a lot, right? And back then it was even more. You could do some basic stuff like basic website or, some basic SEO and really move the needle. And I love the impact that that could have. And so what I did in 2012, late 2012, 2013, I started going to these networking events like a lot of people go to like Chamber of Commerce and BNI and things like that. In my experience, and now I know so many of our clients do these things and they can be great. In my experience, where I am here at the Jersey Shore, at that time anyway, it was just not just a lot of old people, a lot of like, just not very exciting people. I didn't actually enjoy it. I was working only with contractors. I didn't really understand the kind of long-term view of, hey, I can build a relationship with like the restaurant owner who might be able to refer me. Like I wasn't thinking that long-term. So I was like, man, I don't really want to do this. Not a good use of my time. So I started my own networking group, Facebook group called Jersey Shore Contractors. Very simple. And I would host these coffee meetups every Friday at the Green Planet Coffee Shop in Point Pleasant, New Jersey, 7 a.m. We're going to meet up and we're just going to have coffee. We're going to have bagels, donuts, whatever it might be. And it was really casual and people showed up, which was pretty cool. So contractors would show up, architects, remodelers, roofers, plumbers, you name it. And I didn't really have anything to offer them at that point. I was being someone of value because I was bringing this group together and I would pay for, the coffee and all that. It wasn't much. It was under $100 every Friday. So that was pretty good. And naturally a couple of guys were like, so what do you do? I was like, I don't know. What do you need? And similar kind of what you just said, like open up the code, like, hey, I got website SEO. Neil needed a website and SEO. So built a website for Neil, did SEO. Nick had just moved into town, into this area from Illinois. We'll come back to him later because it relates to how he got into roofing. He needed everything. He needed a website, postcards, SEO, you name it. He needed all the whole suite. So Nick and Neil are my first two clients. And And that was that. And then from there, it kind of snowballed. And it was me at the kitchen table with my a full-time web developer in the Philippines named Ju Guarino. And it was Ju and I, all hours of the day and night, just, jamming on these website projects and SEO and all this stuff. And that's how it got started. So yeah, I said, the philosophy I said was, or I had was, hey, I can try to get a seat at this table, at these networking events where all these guys are already established and, they're not really my niche, or I can build my own room, which I did and which I continue to do today. So, yeah, so that was a cool way to get started. And of course I didn't charge enough because I had no idea what to charge, but, I made enough to pay JU and not even pay myself. And, that was the start of it.
Yeah, it's funny how it is. It's learning that value, which of like that you create for people to understand that it's okay to charge money and make money. Like you didn't get in business to have another job. You didn't want to own a job, right? At some point in time, I've never been a business owner. It's like, you know what, I want to start a business, but I just want to work myself to death. Like at some point
Yeah.
in time, there's money or freedom attached to it, to where like I want to have the ability to do these things. And I think when we get started into that, we lose sight of that. That kind of leads me like into my next question. And thinking about that is early identity shifts when you start a business. I think like so me being technically year 3, I failed. I started working with another marketing company. I learned the ins and outs, mostly the outs of what not to do, how not to be shady to people. I think that's how we got connected early on. And I was like, all right, we're going to do this again. So I'm 3 years in, and the
Cool.
way that I've shifted my identity is interesting, and how I think. And it's not just business. I think it's personal too. Like, how do I look at my marriage? How do I look at my kids? How do I show up as a dad? How do I show up physically? Like in the past 6 months, I've got back into decent shape again. So like for you being in it longer than me now, and longer live, what in the early stages of entrepreneurship, like where did your identity shifts happen personally? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm a slow learner. I mean, I have done well in life in different arenas, I would say, but I'm a slow learner. So one of the double-edged swords of my growing up in the construction industry and in really, pretty hard manual labor in a shipyard in Brooklyn was that I learned to work really hard. And I learned to, there's satisfaction when whether it's painting a tugboat, you got to the end, you're like, oh, that boat looks pretty nice. And I did that. It took me a month, but I did that. That's like cool. The other side of that is, if something needs to be done, my default is like, oh, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves and go do that thing, me. And so I didn't. I just kind of had that Puritan like work ethic. Like it wasn't valuable unless I really worked hard at it and like overworked at it. So I grinded my first bunch of years, and I still grind. I mean, I still work really hard. Um, and I kind of forgot the question now.
We were talking about identity well,
So
you were in the I think you're right on it's like
fascinating.
identity shifts of understanding, like, I have to become a different person
Yeah,
for the business.
totally. And I mean, yeah, you go through, I mean, there's so many evolutions of that. I'm 13 years into this entrepreneurial journey. So, and I'm still going through that. So, for example, this year with January, we have really big goals for our company, and we have a great great team members on our team that I'm like, man, I gotta, I gotta like in a good way, like I gotta keep up with these people. Like I gotta, make sure that we have opportunities for them to grow and, make more money and more responsibility and all that. So, for example, I'm doing 75 hard right now, and the primary reason that I'm doing that, and I've done it a few times before, is because I know that I needed to become a better leader, more focused, more dialed in. And for me, in my experience, like this is something 75 hard, for example, helps me to create more capacity and to be more focused and to be a better leader. So you've got to be intentional about that. So whether it's like that mindset that, who do I need to become? Or if it's like, hey, I'm tapped out as far as how many hours I can work in a week. I need to delegate things. It's a constant evaluation of like, who do I need to be for the people around me, whether it's team members, clients, family. And how am I spending my time? Like, what am I spending my time on, and how can I get some stuff off my plate? It's a constant evaluation. And I didn't really understand those things, I would say, in the first, 5 years or so of my business. So the fact that you're 3 years in and you're already, I wouldn't say there because no one's ever there, but you're already, you're on it. Like that's really good.
Yeah, and I think, you got to think. So I was a band director for 15 years, and that's running an organization in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like, we have to raise money, we have to make people aware of what we do, we have to encourage kids, teach them leadership, we have to teach the parents how to be parents and volunteers and leaders in their own organization. So, like, I think, while it wasn't business focused, right, but we still had to find a way to raise, $50,000 to do this year. How do we get that money, and then how do we show kids, like, what? So, in a way, like, I don't think I'm far behind in that aspect.
Right.
My degrees was in educational leadership too, so, like, I was supposed to be a principal. Like, I wanted to be a superintendent of a school system.
Cool.
Man, do things change. But no, I think that idea of leadership and that identity focus changed for me as a band director, and I tried to carry it into business, but then it's a whole new set of problems, right? But no, I think most of the problems I hear a lot of times, the same thing with you, is we work with people that are in that first 5 years, and they struggle to understand that they have to get out as an operator and start thinking like a leader, and understanding they have to elevate themselves versus, like, it's just going to happen. Like, your skills as a worker is different than the skills as a leader. And that's why, like, I think people who are starting to get that shift, if they follow like Simon Sinek, great person to look after. He talks about that all the time, because you don't promote people into leadership that are good at what they do. You promote people in leadership that are good at being leaders, and instilling that in your business. I feel like you've done that too. I've met a lot of your team, and they're fantastic. So I feel like that's already in your business.
Yeah, thank you. They are. Yeah, it's that. I think the first business book I ever read was the E-Myth Revisited, which I'm sure that you've read, and many of the audience has. The technician versus the manager, I think it is. But that really opened my eyes. And even today, I'm the technician in certain things, but the key is to be aware of that. To say, all right, well, I'm the technician in this thing right now, but I'm gonna, by March 1st, I need to get out of it. So how can we delegate it? How can we, outsource it, eliminate it, automate it, whatever that might be? Going back to Tim Ferriss, he talks about a lot of that stuff as well. So,
yep, that's where we're at in our business as well. So we had that conversation before we got started. Was things that we're making changes for the better. And I think it'll be better for everybody. So talk to me. So eventually you narrowed your focus down into roofing, right? So you deal with contractors. What you alluded to this earlier. What led to that change to commit to that one lane of business?
Yeah, it was really an organic development. I'll try to keep the story short. So Nick Forcell, shout out to Nick, Atlas Restoration down in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. Nick was the one who moved out from Illinois to the Jersey Shore where I live. And one of those first clients, Nick and Neil, Nick and I became pretty good friends. He actually, we did a lot of his marketing. He actually worked on one of our houses and did a lot of work there. So we became pretty good friends. We're both building businesses. We're both, starting families. So very similar ages, very aligned that way. Nick ended up moving down to Texas, in Dallas, Forney, Texas, back in 2017. And he calls me up. He's like, dude, come down here. There's like a million roofing contractors here, and I'll introduce you to a bunch of my friends. And I'm like, all right. So there was a lunch and learn down there for roofing contractors in August 2017. And I literally flew down. I guess we had two young kids at the point. I don't know why I did this, but I flew down and back the same day from Newark to Dallas. 6 a.m. flight, which I've taken that 6 a.m. flight from Newark to Dallas many times since then. Lunch and learn, hung out for a few hours. Nick dropped me off the airport. We got a picture at the airport in front of his truck, which it pops up once in a while on the iPhone, and, I'll send it to him or he'll send it to me. And then flew home that night, got home at midnight. But long story short, he did introduce me to his roofing contractor buddies, and we ended up working with lots of them. We did pretty good work. We earned some referrals, and then it kind of snowballed from there. 2018, I was like, man, and I had a business partner at the time for a little bit, for a period of a couple of years. His name's Tim. At the time, Tim and I were like, man, this roofing industry is gigantic. I had no idea there's tens of thousands of roofing companies out there. So we're like, you know what? Let's just focus on roofing for the next couple of years and really go deep on that, in terms of going to the conferences, creating content, developing SOPs and processes for fulfilling on our work. We can really streamline things. And so we did that. And that's 2018. Here we are in 2026, and we are still just scratching the surface with the roofing industry in terms of percentage of clients that we have, um, which is well under 1% of the industry. So we are staying in this industry for the next 3 years at least. And we regularly, grateful to get referrals from some contractors that are not roofing, and we politely provide them with some value, but say, hey, we only work with roofing exterior companies. So we really stick to that, which helps a lot with our business.
That's hard. I struggle with that focus sometimes too. We never made that pivot into we primarily mostly roofing and fencing, but that's sometimes I think people just struggle with that. It's that I don't know, maybe that narrow focus, maybe they feel like they're gonna get bored. I'm probably that way too. But hey, I'm early in my entrepreneur journey making that mistake. So there you go.
No, everyone's got look, I mean, there's so many ways to do business. I mean, so many ways. There's no one right way. I just think, when you niche down, it makes you more referable. There's I believe that's the case. And then fulfillment wise, all of our clients come into our online training portal. Everything's roofing. Our clients come into our mastermind community. It's all roofing company owners in there. We're all speaking the same language. There's no learning curve. It's all focused. So yeah, I mean, we like it works for us.
Yeah. Well, so we speaking of that, like kind of segues the next thing. So you obviously built Contractor Dynamics around training contractors to market themselves, kind of get rid of agency owners where they can kind of run everything in house. Like, and I know that seems to be changing, and business is always changing. I think models like what was your experience that decided like, hey, that we need to shape that philosophy and help them train them on this versus like we're just going to do it for you.
Yeah, it was again an organic process. And so 2013 we started, and from 2013 through 2019, we were, I wouldn't say full service because we didn't do it all, but we were an agency that did, websites, SEO, blogging, ads, you name it. And so we did that. We did pretty good. We were not we were not amazing, but we were good. And then 2018, 2019, again, that's when I had my business partner Tim. We started to really look at our clients, and we're like, man, we got these clients, and it's all done for you service at this point. We have these clients like this kind of group of clients that they're paying us every month, and they're doing well, they're getting good results. And then we've got this other group of clients that I don't really sleep well at night because they're not getting great results. And so we try to look at patterns, and what we saw was, well, the clients that were getting good results and really succeeding with their marketing, they're the ones that were more involved, right? They're, shooting videos, they're showing up to their weekly or biweekly meetings. They are, invested in marketing in terms of like they're interested in it from a strategy perspective. And then the others who weren't getting great results in general were the ones that were like, I don't even want to talk to you. I just want to pay you to make my phone ring, right? Just send me the leads, And we didn't want to be a lead gen company. We wanted to be a branding and marketing company. So we looked at that. And then so we started developing training to help our clients basically be better clients. So I would literally be in our office, and I would record a video as if I were a roofer on a job site. And I would send it to a client, be like, hey, Jordan, record this video just like I did, but go on a roof and do it. Right. So we started developing that training for our clients. That helped a little bit. And then Tim, my previous partner, he had a coaching and training background. We went through a mastermind program ourselves at the time called Traffic and Funnels. I don't know if you remember those guys.
PNC, yeah.
So we went through that, and their whole kind of model was like, hey, this do like a 6-week coaching program, charge $5,800 and like build it as you go, right? So like, all right, I'm just gonna follow the blueprint. So we did that. I threw it out there in 2019 in April. threw it out there to a bunch of roofing contractors that we were working with or that I knew. And we're like, hey, we're going to do this thing. It's going to be, I think it was 10 weeks. We're going to build it as we go. You're going to be, you could be a beta client if you want. We'll give you a discount, but like we're gonna do the first week. We're gonna have the call on Wednesday, and we're gonna get your feedback, and then I'll figure out what we're gonna talk about the next Wednesday. So we literally built it as we went, and that was the genesis of our training program. And then early 2020, before COVID, because I want to say that because it wasn't because of COVID. It was just coincidentally January 2020, we flipped the switch and we said, hey, we're a training company because we see that contractors they need to understand marketing. They need to have marketing capability in-house. They can't just blindly outsource their marketing and expect great results. And so that was that. January 2020, we, slowly got rid of our done for you clients. We referred them to other agencies and things like that. We went all in with the training. And so that was the genesis of that.
Yeah, no, we do a lot of that anyway. Like that's well, I feel like in some ways we have a similar companies in that aspect where we're spending a lot of time on like, hey, here's how you should answer the phone. And same thing, alignment with clients, the ones that don't typically get results or want to quit within a month and a half, right? Even though you set the right expectations, they're the ones that like it's always like they just don't understand marketing in general, and it's hard to teach that. I think I work hard to try to put that in content in front of them. Like, just you need to understand how marketing works, and until you understand that, and we've said no now to clients where it's like you don't grasp marketing yet, so this isn't going to be a good fit. Told the guy that the other day, he got mad at me, and that's fine. You can get upset with me, I don't care. But I'm not going to bring you on. You pay me money and have a bad experience because you didn't want to do the legwork. But I just had a guest on, and he's a marketing guy. Like he's big in the marketing world. He's worked with Ryan Deas, some of the biggest people in the space. And we were talking about the number one skill that we think most small business owners don't have is just learning and understanding marketing. And we think that like that was his take, was like, if you just learn how to market your product, business, whatever, you're going to be 1,000 times, better. Or you're never gonna have to worry about money again as far as what you offer. And I think that's lacking. And that's why I've always been a believer in what you guys did.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's marketing or any other aspect of your business, right? We could talk about AI. We could talk about the financial aspect of your business. We could talk about technology, anything. And Gary Vee talks about it too all the time. He's like, dude, how do you think I know about that? Like, you go spend 30 hours learning about AI. Go spend 30 hours learning about marketing. Literally, I mean, the clients that we work with, and not just the clients, but the business owners that I know that are super successful, they're obsessed. Like, they're committed, they're obsessed. And we follow Story Brand. So in our story, what is our brand story or whatever it is, our avatar, our ideal client profile, ICP, is someone that's invested in marketing. So that can mean they're spending money on marketing, they're doing marketing, or they're a new company, which we do work with many startup roofing companies. They tend to be the younger owners that are like, yeah, I want to start with marketing from day one. I don't know marketing, but I'm hungry enough to learn it that I'm going to do it at, midnight or on the weekends or whatever it takes. So like that word, invested in marketing, that mindset of I'm going to commit to it. Yeah. For us, that's everything.
Yep. So what's a belief you've had about business or leadership that you no longer believe at all when you first started?
So I had the opportunity to peep at these questions in advance. Thank you. I looked at them 5 minutes before our recording. But the first thing that came to mind with this actually happened this week in our annual 2-day leadership meeting. We run on EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. So we have a 2-day annual leadership meeting. And so we're planning out, it's January, we're planning out some initiatives for this year and for this quarter and for this year. And we are rolling out 2 additional services this year. And I don't know if I want to say what ones they are, because actually, not that it's a secret, but we actually haven't even told the rest of our team yet. So
You're good. Keep it quiet.
but these services, I'm like, one of them in particular, I'm like, my thought process was like, okay, I know a little bit about this thing. I don't know a lot. And like, I'm thinking about how I can lead the charge in implementing this new service. And Sydney and Elizabeth, our leaders, other leaders on our leadership team, they're like, no, like we have this guy, like Bobby on our team is awesome with this. He's got a lot of experience with this. He actually used to own a company that did this thing. Like he's going to take the lead on it. And I was like, oh, okay. So now even 13 years in, I'm like, oh, we can roll out additional services for our company that I'm not an expert in anymore because I'm not in the trenches anymore with that particular thing, and that I might not even have a hand in. We're not even that big of a company, but just just knowing that, like, if something's going to happen in our business, could be a major thing like a new service, it doesn't have to go through me. I don't have to be the bottleneck. Um, that was a big thing. Um, a lot of owners might have this with, like, again, the financial aspect of your business. I do have a finance degree from university, but again, applying that to actual business, a whole different thing. And that held us back because I was like, all right, I need to figure out all the aspects of the finance of the business before I hand it off to someone else in the business. And that's not the case. We have, our integrator handles that now, and we have a fractional CFO, and I'm learning every week, right? So instead of me thinking that, like, I had to learn everything and then delegate it, it's like, no, let me just be vulnerable and say, I don't know all I need to know about the finances. I hate doing it because, well, I just want to focus on content and marketing and sales. But let's work together and figure this out. So, so yeah, that belief of shifting from, like, I need to figure out everything and then delegate it to, well, we're a team. Like, who can figure this out, and it probably shouldn't be Joe.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to just leadership in business. Like that's just being a good leader. That's it. Like
Yeah.
being a solid leader, knowing enough to pull an ego aside for a moment and go, I can't do this. You could probably do it better. And could you do it better for me, please?
Yeah.
I think that's hard for people to say and do. And maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
That's something I've worked on personally is in the past year is like, how do I reduce ego? How do I make everything my fault and not somebody else's? How do I take blame and just take ownership of any actions or anything happening in my life? And I think that's a big part of leadership there is understanding that, which kind of, once again, these are great segues into the questions that I had. Maybe I did a good job of mapping this out. I don't know. We were talking about this before because we've done the previous podcast. I was like, I got to get back in the podcast groove. I want to people to allow to tell some great stories and great points, but like, how did building this company here, and I kind of know the answer, but I want to hear it anyway, impact you personally? Like outside of revenue, like business growth, like for you personally, what did it do for you?
Man, I mean, so much. I heard it a couple of years ago. I don't know who said it, but it's entrepreneurship is personal development with a paycheck. Hopefully there's a paycheck, right? Otherwise, why are we doing it? But it really is. I mean, the rate of learning and learning everything from skills to leadership to having tough conversations to, I mean, team building, um time management, calendar block, time blocking, like everything. I'm so grateful for the journey. It's not always, it's never easy. It's not always fun, but man, I'm so grateful to have this experience because I'm learning at such an accelerated rate about myself, about other people, and taking a lot of those lessons now. Our kids are 13 and 10, and being able to apply so many of those lessons from business to kids and building a family, and it's so transferable. It's awesome. I mean, it's the people that you get to meet. I love traveling. I've always been a travel geek, and I reflected on this recently. I've been doing quite a bit of traveling, maybe a little bit too much for business and whatnot. And I don't like being away from my family. And I am a guy who loves a routine, but I still do, like, look at this and say, hey, like, I run my own, calendar. Um, I work more hours than I would have if I had a job, for sure. but I'm traveling the country. I'm going to meet awesome people, all these cool experiences. Yeah, it's such a journey, man. It's so much fun.
Yeah. So let me ask. This isn't on my question sheet. What?
Uh-oh.
It's not. I don't. It's one that I've been asking myself a lot lately. What would you call success in business? What's your viewpoint on that? Because it's something I've been asking I hear this a lot online. Seven-figure contractor, seven-figure business, eight-figure business owner, and I feel like that to me, that gets tied a lot into success. And I think you can have a success. Now, this is how I look at it. I want to hear your take. Think you can have a successful business and it not have to be like this $1 million company. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, success is so individualized. And yes, I'm guilty of it as well. You see these things online, you meet people at events, like, oh, they're a $10 million company. Like, why am I not? Like, I need to be that. Like, that's got to be my goal. And I think that we as a society keep ourselves so busy that we don't create enough white space to actually think about what we want. And we're like I said, good at working hard and rolling up the sleeves and grinding and drinking more coffee and getting through the day, but we need to create more white space to think about what is important to us. And I think that evolves for sure. So yeah, I am driven to grow a big business. We have revenue goals that are pretty ambitious. For me, it's more about the striving to get outside the comfort zone. um I grew up in my family business. It was I would say very comfortable. It was very comfortable. 130-year-old business, strong business. Like, I had job security, benefits, company car, like the whole deal. Like, it was pretty cushy. Wasn't making baller money, but it was solid. But that I didn't like that comfort. So I do like to chase discomfort. Um, I don't know, man. Success is there's so many different arenas of life. There's, like you mentioned, fitness, there's family, there's impact, there's, for us, it's travel and creating experiences with our family. It's being able to have the time and energy to raise our kids, and now that our kids are getting older, coach them on life and things like that. And so, having, for me, it's having freedom of location as well. Now our kids are in school, but we have flexibility to travel and things like that. And when the kids are no longer in the house in a few years, then we're going to do a lot of traveling and living abroad for a few months at a time and things like that. So yeah, it's all individualized, and it all evolves. And certainly this time of year, January, is something that I think a lot of people should think about a little bit more. Like, what do I want and why? Because we're going to work hard, right? Might as well work hard at something that's worthwhile to us.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. We can go on forever about that. I don't have a Instagram post answer for that, but I would just say give that some thought. Think about what you want and why. I love books. So if I could give a book recommendation on that, it's a book called Shine by Rob Dubé,
Mhm.
Dube. It's the 10 disciplines of a driven entrepreneur. And I went through their coaching program last year. It was really impactful for me. Getting down to what is your sweet spot for how many hours you work in a week, right? What that's going to be individual for everyone. And um, so many good lessons in there. I mean, there's so many books on that topic, but that's one that comes to mind.
Yeah, no, I didn't want an Instagram answer. I wanted a real answer. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to know what people think because I think when I first started out, I was like, money, 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 right? Like
Yeah,
I want to make more money than I was as a teacher because we don't make squat as money.
yeah.
And as a band
Unfortunately,
director, yeah, and as a band director, I worked a ton of hours. And
yeah.
of course, our pivot point was COVID, right? That's when mine pivoted. I think it
Got
was
it.
a year before my last teaching. We were out of school. We couldn't teach, couldn't do anything with the band. So I spent a lot of time with my kids. And I was like, whoa, I am missing so much. And I'm helping these other kids. And all of a sudden, like everything shifted for me then. And
Cool.
that was kind of the turning point. Is unfortunately, while COVID, I think did wrecked a lot of things in other ways, but like that helped me more than anything else realize that I have a different path.
That's
That was
so cool, man. That's such a
yeah,
blessing.
yeah,
It's so
and
cool.
And the moment it hit, I'll tell you this, and I got one last question for you. But the moment it hit was I was putting up a fence on the side of our house because I didn't have anything else to do and it needed to be fixed.
Yeah, right.
And so I was sitting there, and my youngest at the time, he was a toddler. I think he was like 1. He was just sitting at my feet in his diapers, just playing while I was trying to put up this fence. And I'm like, man, I'm missing this. I'm at school all day long helping these other kids and these other parents, and my kids they're not with me. I'm not around them as much. And so like we met within a year and a half. I was on the entrepreneur journey. So
Good for you.
yeah.
It's awesome.
So for anybody that's stuck at any contractor, obviously you're dealing with him, and it could be any business owner. I really think any entrepreneur, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're kind of skeptical. Like, what's the one thing you tell them to remember before they decide, like, I'm going to quit or I'm going to obviously keep going?
I mean, some of these things I'm about to say might sound a little bit trite and just kind of, textbook, but really get clear on why you're doing it. I mean, money's cool, but it gets freaking hard. You're going to question yourself. I had periods in 2025 where I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Like we went through some challenges, man. And it's that why that's going to get you through those times. And I know that we've all heard that and seen that on Instagram, but for me anyway, that's been so true. Like you got to have that strong why. I would say for most business owners or leaders or anyone, again, we don't create enough space to think about what we want, and we also don't go out on a long enough time horizon. Our world is so like today, this week, this month, this quarter, this year. Think about that over the next 5 years. Maybe it's 10 years. Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach has a 25-year vision. I've not gotten there yet. Like that to me, that's like that's unfathomable. But at least go out a few years and like, what does that look like? Where do you want to be? What does success look like for you? And then, reverse engineer that, like what needs to happen on a daily basis. Really, I'm a big fan of that. That's why I love things like 75 hard, where you're doing daily tasks, and I follow the power list every day. And break that down into what you need to do every day. And if you don't know what you need to do every day, which you don't a lot of times, get some help, ask for help. I mentioned I struggled the first 3 years in business for sure. Before I hired my first business coach, which was Tim, who eventually became my business partner for a little bit. And when I got into Tim's coaching program, I was like, whoa, there's people that like have been through this and have done that and understand my problems. And like I'm not the only one that's going through this. Like my mind was blown. I'm a slow learner, but yeah, if you don't know what to do or you don't know how to get from where you are to where you want to be, I mean, yeah, get some help. Mentorship, coaching, books, podcasts, great. But if you're talking with someone that can really dig into the context of you and your business, that's when you really move the needle. Because life is short, right? Like we've kind of touched on it. If you have kids, they grow up fast. Like we only have one shot. So don't waste so much time trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, nope, I agree. I love it, man. Creating the space. I think that's kind of the theme right there. And a lot of times when we talk, what's funny is one of the first conversations I have with business owners when we get on sales calls and stuff is I'm like, what do you want from your business? And they're like, what does this have to do with marketing? I'm like, has everything to do with marketing.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with it. Like if you don't have a clear path to where you want to go, then like, what are we doing here? Cause I'm like you, we're focused on branding and marketing more than like we're a lead gen company. So typically those people that are like, hey, I just want the phone to ring. I'm like, we're probably not going to be for you. Here's a great call center. Here's a great this. Go have fun. When you're ready to focus on brand and marketing and really build something great, give us a call. That's why I look at it.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, your clients are lucky to work with you because you're really challenging them to probably dig deeper than they thought they needed to or wanted to.
Yep. I think they need to. So Joe, man, I appreciate it, dude. This was I love hearing about where you evolved. I heard more now today than I've heard in the past. I haven't heard your story in the construction. I knew that you had the family business, but I didn't get to hear that. So I enjoyed getting to hear that stuff. And obviously I feel like we're in alignment in a lot of things. So it's a great conversation, man. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, one of my goals is to go back to that shipyard with a video crew and do the whole like kind of come up story and highlight them and highlight me. So I'll have to put that out. But yeah, man, awesome to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Great to connect. And yeah, so glad that you're doing really well.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And thanks for everybody for listening. We're early in this thing, but who knows where it's going to go. Hopefully you'll come back and listen to this episode if you hadn't heard it. 20 episodes in, we'll find out. Though, thanks again for listening. Thanks.